Hey guys, this is Jason from Holy City Haunters, and this is an update video to last year's Swamp Witch yard haunt theme. If you haven't seen that video, check the link up above, so let's go check it out. One of the main goals this year was to stretch the scene out and let it tell a story a little bit better. And there were a couple of ways that things could be arranged better and things could be used in order to widen the scene and bring the scene closer to the road. So one of the things we did was add a dock, which never really got time to do last year. Really wanted to. It was one of those things, and I think I may have mentioned it before. But by adding this into the scene, it brought it closer to the audience out by the road and made the appearance that everything behind me was a little more further back. It brought it into what's the swamp area in here. And the cool thing about using the lasers and the fog and stuff is it created water lines right underneath here and really sold the scene. One of the things that was added to it was this light, which was basically rigged up from a small yard set that came from Goodwill. It was a couple little LEDs in here, dropped it in this little lantern and ran the cable along the side. These are actually two pallets that are attached together, and these are landscape timbers which were bolted through the ends here and in the midsections just to hold it up. They were chopped off at different lengths to kind of give or sell the appearance that this was old and used whatever random materials were available to build the dock. It turned out pretty well. Took a little bit of spray paint, a little bit of moss, sitting under these trees, catching some leaves, a little bit of netting, but it's actually a dock and it turned out really, really cool, especially at night. Last year in the haunt, the witch was staged right here, dead center of the building. And this area over to the side really had nothing but the Tree of the Dead. So the idea this year was to remove her from here and place her over there. It would fill this space out and it allows the whole thing to tell a story. This speaks for itself. You could tell it's the witch's house. It's creepy, it's old, it's dilapidated. And what she's doing is she's over here on this side brewing up whatever it is that she's making with some bones laid out up against the Tree of the Dead here. So this section kind of tells its own story. This section kind of tells its own story. And all together, it plays out much better as a scene. So that was the driving force behind relocating everything. And one of the things that kind of helped sell the shoreline here is there were some pretty strong windstorms a few weeks ago. I know a lot of haunters suffered down in the south from haunts getting destroyed from the winds. But a lot of tree limbs came down. And there were some of these plants here that were up in the container, and we just put them into the ground, put limbs down, and helped sell that this is actually part of the shoreline here in front of the witch. And these stones, which were actually part of little grave sites that were over here last year, were just put around the cauldron, ashes, and then it's set up on top, and she was added in. Nothing really changed with her this year other than she got a new necklace from one of the box stores, but that was it. This year, a room has been built on the back side of the facade. Last year, this was just a curtain pulled over with a clamp light placed back behind it to light it up. You got the perception that there was an inside, but you didn't actually get to see it. And that was just because of time constraints. But this year, a room has been built inside, and we're going to take a look at that in a second, made out of foam and actually painted kind of to scale so that from the street, you're tricked into believing that you're actually seeing inside a much larger shack here. And inside are two flame bulbs, which kind of compete and add some flickering, and some other details like a shelf, hanging skull, lantern, and some Dollar Tree bones tied to string here just hanging from the window along with these curtains. The idea behind it was to really sell the idea that this is an actual building. It's really here. There are rooms inside, there are things going on inside, and it may come off as just a small detail, you know, on the overall look of the haunt, but I think that it actually sells it. And really makes people believe that there is something there. They can go in, they can look around, that witch lives in that house. But this is the new addition here. It's only 4 foot by 4 foot. It fits right up against this last panel here. And I never actually got around to screwing this back piece on, but I can pull it off and show you. This is the inside of the room. And on the front of the building, it's a 5 inches between each one of the lines here in the wood. So in the interior portion, which is still made of foam, just like the exterior, it was scaled down to 4 inches. And then on the inside panels here, it was offset by 4 inches to give the perception of angle and depth as they were looking inside the building from the street. So you'll see that the lines are higher up on the front, lower on the back, and then lined up with this piece here. And then on the back here is just a shelf, little skull hanging, small details. A lot of it you cannot see from the road, but you can tell that there's stuff in there that the witch has. And at the bottom there is just the 2 flame bulbs that were kind of working and competing against each other to add more realism. One of the lessons learned from last year was a choice of wall material for this 100-foot wall that surrounds the entire haunt. Last year it was a weed material that was rolled out and attached halfway down, but this year we got a privacy screen material from Amazon, 100-foot, 250-foot rolls, but supposed to be 8 foot by 50 foot. Turned out it was actually 7'6" by 50 foot, which was okay. It still worked really well. It's about a 93% blackout type material. It survived every windstorm that we've had, which has been great. And I can pack this up and use it again next year. It was worth the investment to get this. It wasn't really all that expensive. I think it may have been $150, $160 for 100 foot worth of the material. But if you're trying to set a scene and hide things, it turned out to be really, really good. And unlike plastic, it's not real reflective, and it absorbs some of the light and faded into the background, which is exactly what you want. So we get a lot of questions and wanted to cover this from our previous videos about what type of fog machine is being used to produce the swamp effect. And the lasers, they're green line lasers. They come in various brands. All of them are coming from China, basically. So it's hard for me to provide that information to you. But the fog machine itself, this is it. This is a Chauvet Hurricane 1302. It has about a gallon reservoir in the back that's LED lit so that you can actually see how much fluid is in it. To produce the effect out here, we've got this set to its lowest setting, lowest interval or lowest output, and low interval and highest duration. And that allows it to just tick constantly and provide fog at an even rate throughout the yard. To produce a better fog effect for the lasers, the generic big box store brand fogs tended to work better. Unfortunately, halfway through, we ran out of it, and we had some of Froggy's Bog Fog, which is an excellent fog. It rolls really nice across the ground, but unfortunately it was really, really thick, and it ended up cutting through some of the laser lines. So if you're trying to reproduce this effect, the cheaper brands are what you may be able to find at a home improvement store or a Halloween store will actually produce a better effect for the lasers than using really thick fogs that you can get online from some of the professional haunters and fog companies. So to help produce a better flame effect over on the witch, we've removed the cover off of a flame bulb to expose the actual board underneath. This made it a little bit brighter, a little bit harsher, and looked a little more realistic when it projected out onto her face. And this was really simple. The caps just kind of come off. You don't want this to get wet, so this is something that you can't leave outside. But if you are going to leave it outside, make sure the cap is on it. But if you aren't, or it's just for Halloween night, remove this cap, place it back in there, and it gives a nice flame effect on anything that you're projecting on. So that's it to this year's updates to the Swamp Witch yard haunt. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, make sure that you put a comment down below. We try to answer any questions that you guys have got. If you liked it, let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram.